because they'd never seen people with white skin coming into their lands.
To be painted in a more avant-garde way.
Yeah.
When you're more comfortable to let the artist just do what the artist wants to do.
Australia is such a vast country, it is a continent upon itself, and to explore such country can be a daunting task, but we have to start somewhere. I figured, what better to start exploring Australia than the first point of contact that the Europeans made with the Aborigines. In this episode, we have explored and understood a little bit better about Australia's past, how it has come to terms with its checkered past, and how Australia can start doing better for themselves as well as for each other. It is because of this we took time to understand the Aborigines culture, the culture of Australians itself, and how modern Australia can begin to grapple with its past and build a better future. In the next few episodes, I will actually explore more of New South Wales, including going to some natural sites such as the Jenolan Caves at the Blue Mountains, as well as the Snowy Mountains, to explore the kind of winter activities that you can do there. But for now, we begin our journey in Sydney itself. Indigenous Australians have inhabited Sydney for at least 30,000 years, and thousands of engravings remain throughout the region, making it one of the richest in Australia in terms of Aboriginal archaeological sites. It is because of this I went to the Royal Botanic Gardens in the CBD region of Sydney to speak with Josh Brown. Josh is the Aboriginal Programs Coordinator at the Sydney Botanic Gardens.
Yeah, so here where we are today, today is called Farm Cove. The local name for this is called Wakama Gully, okay, the Gadigal name for it. So this is one of the first, I guess, sites of first contact between Aboriginal people and non-Indigenous people, being the first fleet, okay, being the British. So a lot of this land here that we just walked past, it's all man-made, okay, and I'll actually show you guys where the natural shoreline used to go to. Right, but certainly when the boats coming in here, many of the Gadigal people situated along the shorelines, obviously as we can see today, all these different boats, right, pretty big boats. The only boats that they had ever seen or had ever been in before are just the small rafts, okay, for 1 to 2 people max, made from things like bark, paper bark, or wood from certain trees like the casuarina. So for them, seeing these massive boats and seeing people with much fairer skin compared to them they'd never seen before, okay, they started shouting and pointing, right? They started shouting, "Wirra, wirra." What do you reckon they were saying?
Ghost.
That's exactly what they were saying, okay? They kept shouting ghost, okay, because they'd never seen people with white skin coming into their lands.
The Royal Botanic Garden in Sydney is a heritage-listed major site, and it is also an event venue and public recreation area. It was first opened in 1816, and the garden is the oldest scientific institution in Australia and one of the most important historic botanical gardens and institute in the world. The garden is owned by the Government of New South Wales and is administered by the Royal Botanic Gardens and Domain Trust. The Botanic Garden, together with the adjacent domain, were added to the New South Wales State Heritage Register in the late 20th century. The stunning position it has on the Sydney Harbour overlooks the Sydney Opera House and has a fantastic viewpoint across the bigger town of Sydney itself. And because of this, it is also the point of contact where Lieutenant James Cook and his crew became the first Europeans to chart the eastern coast of Australia and made the first contact with the Aborigines here in Australia back in 1770.
So as we can see today, we've got over their opera house. Okay, they used to be called Bennelong Point. Right, so Arthur Phillip, when they first sailed in, they actually set ashore over at Wallumaloo Bay. That's just over in this bay across the road there. And what he did was, because the first fleet, when they came here, they were already dying off in very rapid rates. Okay, they had things like smallpox, things like scurvy. Okay, that led to many of the first fleet, okay, especially all the convicts, were dying off day by day. Okay, what they actually brought with them was a whole range of different crops. Okay, not only from England but from other parts on their journey that they came in. That was all by using the notes, all right, that was sent back to them by the explorer James Cook. Okay, what he did was send back, when he came over in 1770, reported back that there was plenty of fresh water. Their lands are great for harvesting our crops and bringing them over, and it's a great land to start a new colony. When they got here, there wasn't any fresh water they could find. The soil here was much higher in salt, okay, and the weather is far too hot for their crops to survive. So all the crops they brought over were basically useless. Okay, so they had no food, they were running out of water, they were dying off from the disease. Captain Arthur Phillip realised that you needed to learn from the local people how to survive. Okay, so what he did was he captured two people. One was Colby, one was by the name of Bennelong. Okay, what eventually happened was that exchange between Bennelong and himself, they exchanged obviously knowledge, right, and started exchanging certain items with Bennelong for his knowledge for the first fleet to survive. Okay, that, I guess, essentially led to Bennelong's downfall. Okay, so introducing him to things like alcohol and things like drugs, and then the convicts and First Fleet were purposely introducing the local people to things like alcohol as a way of trying to start taking over their land and reducing the number of Aboriginal people here. The person who actually started these gardens was a person by the name of Lachlan Macquarie. Okay, you'll notice in Australia there's many things named Macquarie. Okay, so there's Macquarie Street, which is just over there. There's Macquarie Bank, Port Macquarie, Macquarie University. Okay, Mr Macquarie's Road. Basically, Lachlan Macquarie loved himself and he loved his own name. And loved seeing his own name, loved hearing his own name. Therefore, he decided to name everything after himself.
Sounds like Trump.
Basically. So, Lachlan Macquarie is a person who, first started building the garden here, but often that people don't understand is that Lachlan Macquarie was the first person to send out an order across this new place here in Sydney, was to hunt, kill and hang Aboriginal people from trees. Okay, so in terms of Lachlan Macquarie and his engagement with Aboriginal people was always negative, and that was the start of trying to kill off Aboriginal culture in Australia. So after Lachlan Macquarie, the governors and policies that then proceeded was to exactly do that, was to assimilate, right, and get rid of Aboriginal culture. Okay, and over time, obviously Aboriginal people have obviously had much more resistance and have had resistance over time. One of the main resistance people that I guess led the fight between the local Gadigal people and the First Fleet was a person by the name of Pemulwuy. Right? He was the main Aboriginal warrior for Sydney. Okay, and he was the main resistance fighter for Aboriginal people here in Sydney. Once they started to realise that the First Fleet wasn't just here for a short stay, they were trying to stay here forever and trying to take over their land and trying to kill off Aboriginal people. Okay, so Pemulwuy was one of the main warriors. Right? Often got captured, always escaped though. Got shot, got captured, always escaped. That led on for many, many years, but eventually they did capture Pemulwuy one more time. What they did was then cut his head off and then had it on a stake for all the local Aboriginal people to see. That's basically where the fight stopped. They saw that their warrior had been killed and it was pretty apparent that they had to give up.
Josh Brown is part Indigenous himself, and being the coordinator for the Aboriginal programs here at the Sydney Botanic Gardens, he explains to me what his role is and what his function is for everyone to understand.
So in here we have a range of different Aboriginal artefacts, all from different parts of Australia, not just here in Sydney today. I'll start with probably the most familiar one.
Yep.
Is this one?
Yep.
Do you know what the name of this one is?
Boomerang?
Yep, boomerang. So this was used as a weapon, okay? Not as a toy, as a weapon. Because if you feel that,
Pretty flat.
pretty flat, pretty solid, right? It was designed to break bones, okay?
Okay. Human bones?
No, not human bones. Where do you reckon you're throwing this?
Sky?
So what do you reckon you're probably trying to hunt?
Birds?
Birds, okay? So this was specifically designed to hunt birds, okay? And see, it's not totally straight,
Yeah.
okay? There's different grooves and stuff as well, especially on the ends there, okay? That's what helps make it come out and then come back to us,
Okay.
right? So this same design is used on other machinery that helps us fly,
Oh, the blades of an aeroplane.
and helicopters and things like that too,
Yeah.
okay? Because that's what helps it and go
That
up
stays
and
afloat,
down,
yeah.
okay? So
Does
obviously,
Does it return back?
yeah, obviously we can't demonstrate in a
Yeah.
botanic garden, unfortunately, for you. But if you do ever get the chance to throw it, okay, this is how you'd throw it. So you actually have the boomerang facing outwards, not inwards,
Yeah.
okay? You point up at the sky, okay? So pretend you're drawing a clock, okay? 12 o'clock, you actually want to point it at 2 o'clock, right? That's where you throw the boomerang, at 2 o'clock. You throw it, it'll spin, it'll come, loop back around, and then hit the ground. Okay, pick it back up.
Catch it like frisbee.
No, because what I say at the start,
Okay.
designed to
Cut bones.
break bones. Okay. So yeah, to avoid broken fingers, broken arms, broken necks potentially, you just stay well out of the way once you throw it. Hits the ground, pick it back up, and keep going. Okay. But I think the one thing I always try to show our guests is this map. Okay. So this is Aboriginal Australia. Okay. So what do you notice it's different to a standard map of Australia?
It's divided by terrain rather than artificial, longitude kind of like lines.
Yep. Are the colours different to say a standard map?
Yeah.
Yep. Colours, what about the names?
Yeah, it changes as well.
Yep. All different names, all different colours. So I often ask people, are all Aboriginal people the same? Okay. Often people will say yes, they're all the same. All do the same things, look the same, things like that. If there's all different names, there's all different colours,
It's
are
different.
all the
of
same?
course,
No.
No.
If all Aboriginal people are the same, it'd be the exact same name and colour throughout the whole place.
Yeah.
Right? So all of these different colours, all these different names represented different Aboriginal languages, different people, but most importantly, different countries.
Okay.
Every single one of these is a different country, just as the same with Europe.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
How they're all different in terms of their beliefs, in terms of their language, things that they will hunt for food, okay, or what their local cuisine is all different. Exact same applies to all different parts of Aboriginal people in Australia.
Having spent an excellent morning with Josh and walking through the grounds of the Royal Botanic Garden in Sydney and trying to understand better Australia's past, Australia's culture and Australia's relationship with one another, including that of Australia's scientific pursuit, particularly in the field of taxonomic botany, I have to bid Josh and the Royal Botanic Garden goodbye. But in pursuit of me trying to understand Australia a little bit better, I literally crossed the street across the Royal Botanic Garden and went on ahead to visit the Art Gallery of New South Wales. Here, I tried to better understand Australia's next biggest thing, particularly in modern art and culture, that is of Australia's fascination with portraiture. At the Art Gallery of New South Wales, currently on exhibition is the Archibald Prize, an award given to the best artist in Australia for the past year that excels in the field of portraiture. Here I speak with the curator to better understand what this is all about.
I'm standing in front of the Art Gallery of New South Wales here to experience the Archibald Exhibition 2019, where we will discuss with the curator Anne about the winner of Archibald 2019, as well as the two other exhibitions that is running concurrently with the Archibald, that is of the Wynne Prize as well as the Solomon Prize. My discussion with Anne will also include the winners of the respective prizes.
This open competition is judged by the trustees of the Art Gallery of New South Wales, and finalists are displayed in an exhibition at the Art Gallery. Although in the early years all entrants were hung, but these days it has to be narrowed down to just the finalists. Although it is a non-acquisitive prize, several of the entries are now part of the gallery's collection. The Archibald Prize was first awarded in 1921. In establishing the prize, J.F. Archibald's aim was to foster portraiture as well as support artists and perpetuate the memory of great Australians. Over the years, some of Australia's most prominent artists have entered, and the subjects have been equally celebrated in their fields.
The Archibald Prize is in its 98th year in 2019. It's an exhibition that's been held at this gallery looking at portraits painted of Australian subjects in the previous 12 months. Preferentially, it's somebody of prestige, somebody who has made a mark on Australian culture, a writer, politician, a business person, an artist. But not always. But every year it's very, very interesting because it tells us about the last year in Australian culture. The Archibald Prize continues to grow in popularity. This year we had a record number of entries, more than 900 works, and in the end we got it right down to 51 hanging on the walls. The Archibald Prize is judged by our Board of Trustees. It's a group of people, not all of them art specialists, but they look to see which they feel is the best portrait for the year. They chose Tony Costa's portrait behind me, and I think they decided it was a winner for many reasons. Aesthetic and artistic merit, the interest of the subject, and its power to tell an interesting story. This exhibition is very popular in Australia because it's about Australian subjects, but I think portraiture is interesting to everybody because as humans we're interested in other people, and so I think it's a way for our audiences to feed that interest but also have a very pleasurable art experience at the same time. As a companion exhibition to the Archibald Prize, we have the Young Archies, which children from all around Australia between the ages of 5 and 18 are encouraged to send in a portrait of someone who is special to them. And this year we got more than 900 more entries than last year, so it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And children from all around Australia enter. It's very exciting.
The Archibald Prize is awarded annually to the best portrait, preferentially of some women or men distinguished in arts, letters, science and politics. And it has to be painted by any artist resident within Australasia.
Every year we have 3 prizes concurrently at the Art Gallery of New South Wales. The Archibald Prize for Portraiture, the Wynne Prize for Landscape Painting, and the Sulman Prize for Genre and Subject Painting, which I say is everything else, paintings that tell a story. At the moment we're standing in the Wynne Prize in front of the winning painting by Sylvia Ken, Seven Sisters Dreaming. The Wynne Prize is able to take a very important and key subject for Australian artists, which is landscape, and present it in the broadest sense. So very different ways of understanding the way the landscape looks and how it is to be living in the landscape, whether it's in the desert, in an indigenous traditional community, or whether it's in Sydney, next to Sydney Harbour. Our annual prizes are growing in popularity from year to year, which tells us a few things. It tells us that art is very healthy in Australia, and it also tells us that these 3 prizes have something to say that is interesting and current and contemporary. So it continues year after year with new ideas, new stories, new visions, which is very exciting for us. The Win Prize is selected by our Board of Trustees, and they come together to judge a winner. This work was chosen as the winner this year because they felt that it was the most powerful and expressive landscape painting in the exhibition, but it was a tricky choice. It was a lot of discussion, and there's so many good pictures, I think it was a hard decision. The Art Gallery's annual prizes are very unique because they are very democratic. Anybody can enter. You can be a very well-known professional artist or somebody who's entering for the very first time. Our trustees are also a group of people who have different levels of specialisation and expertise as art critics. So when they come together and judge a prize, they bring all their own subjectivity to the process, but also they tell each other different things, they bring different things to the table, and perhaps the conversation that they have sparks different ideas, different perspectives. So it's very subjective. A prize is never perfect because not everyone is going to agree with the winner, but that's the nature of a prize, and the thing that keeps it very open is also the thing that makes it hard to judge.
Australia will always have a special place with me because I was here when I was growing up as a boy. But coming back here again when I'm an adult means that I'm experiencing everything as if for the first time. And while we start our journey in Sydney, New South Wales, there's still plenty more to explore within this fantastic country. And that includes me visiting the Blue Mountains as well as the Snowy Mountains. We'll also take a quick look at the Jenolan Caves, where we will explore what is considered to be one of the oldest caves in the world. But back here in Sydney, we now learn more about how Sydney has to handle with its checkered past and how it has to grapple with what it needs to do to make sure that future generations don't make the same mistakes as their forefathers did. But moving forward, we have to really enjoy what Australia can offer for us as people that are willing to learn more about the world around us.
So the story of the Archibald Exhibition is an interesting one to be told, but the one that piques my attention is of course the Young Artis, which showcases the artwork of young Australians. Remember, if you've missed any part of this episode, just head on to astroawani.com and search for our episodes there. Of course, you can also watch this on the AWANI app. Just download it on the Google Play and the Apple App Store. Till next time, goodbye.